Depression and anxiety disorders not only take a toll on human beings, but also cost the global economy $1 trillion every year in lost productivity. At the World Economic Forum underway in Davos, Switzerland, delegates are also discussing how economies can build healthier workplaces that support mental health. Let's get the very latest now. I want to bring in Liabo Setho now. She's live for us in Davos, Switzerland. Liabo, a very good morning to you. So talk to us. Very interesting discussions being held there around mental health, especially in the workplace. What was said?
So, good morning. Those numbers that you've just read out are staggering numbers of the amount of money that's lost through the global economy due to mental awareness and mental health issues, particularly among the youth. It's nice to know that at conferences such as the World Economic Forum, we just don't only focus on the economics of the global or the world, really. There's also issues of wellness and particularly mental health illness. We know that each and every country, including South Africa, has an issue of its own with the number of young people suffering from depression and anxiety. And of course, now we know that that takes a toll on economies particularly. And I've brought in a representative from the World Economic Forum to take us through just how big the problem is and what leaders are discussing and what kind of solutions are on the table. Thank you very much, Peter. So 1 billion rand, it is said, that is going out of the global economy due to depression and anxiety. How do we stop the outpouring of so much money out of the global economy?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, as you say, it is an issue that the youth care a lot about, and so making sure that the youth are the ones who are leading the charge on this and listening to what they have to say about it. I think we've seen a lot of stories, and there's evidence of people who have had early enough intervention or early enough support to where even if they do go through some sort of mental health issue, they're able to recover and they're able to thrive. And that's really what we need to do here. And you mentioned depression and anxiety, which are two of the, as you say, the largest causes of mental ill health in the world, particularly among the youth. Yeah. And so how do we really get that kind of peer support, particularly in a place where there is not a lot of specialists maybe, or people can't pay for specialists because it's not in the public system? How do we get community-based initiatives and peer support so people feel free to really speak their mind and be who they are and be able to be on that path of recovery?
Let's talk about mental health, particularly in the workspace also, because you find young people in the workspace and how that impacts, on. What have been the conversations around that with executives who are attending the forum?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's an issue that's on the minds of a lot of executives, not just in the health sector, of course, but around different industries and different sectors. And what they're saying and what we're hearing is that young people want to work for organizations who share values with themselves. And so that means, again, bringing themselves to work, being able to thrive in the workplace to the extent that they want to. If they want to be private, that's fine. If they want to be opened up and supported to, then that's good too. And I think one of the misconceptions is that you have high-profile industries like finance or banking it's really competitive, but that isn't incompatible with taking care of your employees. It's a human rights issue, and as you said, it's an economic issue as well.
I know that a lot of economies are moving towards encouraging people to be in entrepreneurship and be their own bosses. However, we know the toll that can take on one's mental health. Is that something that has been explored, and how can entrepreneurs guard against that?
Yeah, so it's a really good topic. There's a lot of statistics that are coming out now about the types of things that we value in leaders, like risk-taking and kind of putting yourself out there and burning the candle at both ends. Those are, of course, the same risk factors as you would have for risk of burnout or anxiety and depression. So there are some initiatives that we know where communities or organizations are giving support to entrepreneurs. I think what we need to be careful of is this idea that, okay, if somebody is high achieving, then he or she himself or herself can take care of the resilience and the empathy that they need, and that because they're high achieving, they can do it all themselves. We really need to support those communities too as they're seeking to build businesses and change the world.
South Africa is a country that battles with very high unemployment, and during going through my social media posts, I once spotted someone who says that while you are praying for a job, ask for a company or a job that will not impact on your mental health. So this goes back to us, talking about the mental health in the workplace, finding maybe bosses not being so supportive, and how can we combat that, or how does one guard against that to themselves? You're desperately looking for a job, however you don't know the kind of situation you are actually praying for.
Well, I think the big answer is that we need to have those bosses and those workplaces change their culture so that young people do feel comfortable taking themselves there and talking about their mental health or getting the support that they need if they need it. This isn't to say managers and companies should become therapists, but it's a ecosystem. It's a space where people can feel like themselves and they can feel supported. I think the other piece too is young people want to see support from their peers. They want to talk to other people who have been through it before. And so the more sort of grassroots alliances and friendships that you can build in the workplace to help build those resilient skills, the better.
The availability of psychiatrists and psychologists at public health institutions probably is a big issue among emerging economies, because we are aware of sometimes the public health conditions that the hospitals are in. Are you talking to policymakers at all, to make these kind of services available to young people at public hospitals? Because of course cost is an issue with some people who do not work, and young people generally sometimes cannot afford private health care.
Yeah, so two things on this one. First of all, yes, we are hearing from policymakers that mental health should be incorporated into primary care, and primary care is, of course, an enabler of universal health coverage. So we see that giant push from all over the world, policymakers at the WHO for UHC, ensuring mental health is part of primary care in the hope of achieving UHC is really, really important. So the second thing I would say just is psychiatrists and psychologists and specialists themselves are important, but that community-based care piece and how to leverage the strengths of the community into the health system, community health workers, family members, those are important things to tackle as well.
Blaine, just to give you another context, is that every morning here at the World Economic Forum there is a meditation session that happens, and I'm assuming that this is one of the ways that the forum is trying to advance the issue of mental health and mental awareness. Peter, tell me about that meditation session in the morning. Are delegates taking it up? Is it a hit among delegates?
It is, and it's been that way, I think, for a number of years. Obviously, this week in Davos is very packed with a lot of activity. I think people find the meditation sessions really useful to recenter and to be able to just, ground themselves in the midst of a lot of high-profile and powerful people here at the conference.
Peter, thank you so much for speaking to us at the SABC. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Blaine, that is Peter Vanham, and he is with the World Economic Forum. We were talking about mental health among young people. Of course, like I said, it is not just economic and political issues that are being discussed here, but issues of wellness too. And with that, I'll hand over back to you in studio.